What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is Force, and here today we're going to be taking another look at some Skyforge gameplay. I specifically wanted to show you some footage of the class that I've been playing over the past couple of days, which is the Lightbinder. It's a support class, which I didn't think I was going to play, because I normally like to play either the tank or the damage role, but I've really been digging this class. It doesn't hurt either that he can actually dish out some pretty solid damage. At the same time, we're also going to be going through the Landberg Catacombs. This is one of the handful of mission areas that's available in the game at the moment in its current state, which is of course closed beta test number 1. Alright, so I'd like to give you sort of a basic introduction as to what this class is, what it plays like. First of all, our left and right attacks. My left attack here shoots out this little particle beam, which does a couple of things. Number one, obviously hits the opponent, does some damage, but also if you target an ally, it provides a damage buff for them. So this comes into the support role. And then also if I hold it down, we get this beam which will fire straight forward, and it does damage per second, but it hits more than one target. So if there was like a line of enemies here, it would basically pass through them. However, a lot of times I don't use that ability because just swinging with basic attacks with this weapon has a chance to instantly reduce the cooldown of my impulse strike, which is like burst damage. So see this dodge on the right hand side of my health bar? See that dodge icon going down? Just above that is the icon for impulse, and essentially you've got this impulse charge. All of the classes have access to it, and for each of the classes, depending on who you're playing, you've got a certain ability which will activate your impulse charge, and it basically acts like an extra burst of damage. So I'm actually going to throw down my AoE here with an impulse charge, and you're going to notice there's that little electrical number icon popping up, and these ones don't have that. That electrical icon was additional damage added on top of the attack that I'm doing. So whenever you have an impulse charge up, you're going to get essentially just an extra burst of damage. So this is a mechanic that I didn't cover in any of my prior videos because I actually didn't know what it was. I saw that a little electric bolt, and I'm like, I guess some I figured it was something along those lines, but I did a little bit of research and I finally got some clarification. So I've got a couple of abilities that activate that. One is that AoE bomb you just saw. Another one is this single target ability, my number 1, and this is where I can get a lot of damage. I essentially spam my left attack, try to get the impulse charge to get its cooldown back up, and then I hit 1, and that's where I get a lot of my single target damage. And that's actually also where this class, the Lightbinder, turns out to be very effective in PvP. It's sort of using that combination with stacking for crit damage and impulse damage. It's a lot of fun, although it's kind of face roll right now, and that's actually why I'm not going to be showing you PvP. Number one, the maps that are available, I don't like them. I think they just look kind of stupid, to be honest with you. But looks aren't the most important thing. It's about competition. But that's the other side of the coin here. That there's not much competition. There are some classes that are just very strong, and right now Lightbinder appears to be one of those. So I showed you my left and right attack. Left attack is that single target beam. Right attack was that AoE that you saw. You also saw my number 1 ability plus my V. So my V here puts down this little ball, and whenever enemies walk towards it, it actually does damage and sucks them into the center, which allows me to add more damage by doing AoE on top of them. In addition to that, I've got 2 shields, and I can show you those here. So I'm going to just pop some damage on this guy. Also, my 3 is this little particle attack, which shoots out 3 beams, really good for single target damage. That also has an option of instantly cooling down with my left attack. So this is why I do my left attack very often. Alright, so here's a little boss. He does that little suck-in thing and then stomps on the ground, so I just make sure that you get away from that. And then I just kind of spam my basic attacks here. Now again, I could do my beam attack, but it's not, the best thing for me to do is to just spam the single attack, not the hold down one. Once more, for all the reasons that I talked about, for cooling down that impulse charge, as well as for cooling down my number 3 ability, which is that right there. So this is a little mini boss here in this mission. All of the various missions have them. This guy's like blocking the wall, and he does that suck in as well as stomp on the ground. And then his other mechanic is he spits up these little bugs. So if you throw this poison here in his mouth, it like interrupts that process. throw a couple particle beams at him. It also does some damage to him once you manage to get that. Whoa, get out of here. Get out of here. There we go. And just a couple more of these. He's in a lot of trouble in 1 second. He's like, oh, I slammed on the ground, and now he's kind of a weird enemy. He's like a house dude. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you my shields. So I've got shield to number 2. It's gonna put a little shield around me. It's that bar above my health bar. And then once that shield pops, either from its duration running up, which will happen right now, it explodes. Or if enemies work through the shield, it will also explode. That's the other condition that can be met. I also have a group shield, which is bound to my 4. It's going to protect myself and my allies. In fact, I can just show you this stuff here. So this is my number 4 ability here, Halo. Creates a halo around the Lightbinder and all allies, absorbing 50% of incoming damage. We've got my Starstorm, which is that single target beam. We've got my shield that explodes. That's this right here. I can also apply that to an ally. My number 1 is the Spark of Anger. That's where most of my damage comes from for single targets. It triggers the impulse charge. My X is Star Fury. I haven't showed you that yet, or Wrath of the Sun, or my Wanderer's Relic. So X is Star. This right here puts stars above my head, or I can put it on an ally. And what'll happen is if enemies come up and hit me, they're gonna take damage and be stunned. So I'm gonna take some damage here, and they're gonna use up those charges. But yeah, it puts a little buff on you that's gonna really mess up your enemy's days if they attack you. And then we have got my C ability, which I haven't had to use here. This is a relatively easy dungeon for me. I am slightly not over leveled it, but I'm on the high end of, I'm sort of on the high end of level for it, so it's not too much of a challenge. But unfortunately, because we're in the place where we are with this game, which is the closed beta test, there's only so much I can do. Like some stuff, I wanted to show you something interesting. The only other thing that I think I'm going to be potentially making a video for is the dungeon, but that takes about 40 minutes to run through, and I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to present that content. I'm probably not just going to sit down and record like I am now while playing. I'm probably gonna edit some video together with some recorded footage. But anyways, the point is that at the moment, there's only so much content and you can only progress so far. Like I've gone as far as I can in the main story on both the European and the North American server. I've been playing on both of them. This is the NA server. On the EU servers where my Berserker is. I wanted to focus on one class for each of the servers so that I didn't split up any progression. Because the storyline only goes so far, you get a lot of extra, essentially, currency or sparks to level up a particular class as you go through the story. And so once you run out of story stuff, it really halts your progression. So yeah, point is though, there's only so much that I can do at the moment, and that is why I wanted to show you this dungeon, because there's just not a lot else to show you, to be honest with you. Alright, so here's another boss here. I haven't engaged with it yet, but it's got this mechanic where every so often this little, I don't know, shrine or whatever in the middle of the map will activate. And when it does, both me and the boss are going to try to run towards it. Now, if he gets there first, he gets the buff. If I get there first, I get the buff, plain and simple. He also has a couple of, he's just got basic attacks where he's just going to run into me, so I can, like, do some attacks here, pop my shield, and he does that. If I get hit with that, it obviously hurts. And then he explodes, which you saw happen a couple moments ago. He will explode, and yes. If I get hit by the reason I'm tentative for walking in there is because if I get hit by one of those circling balls, it's gonna knock me back, which gives the boss an opportunity to get up there before I can. So he also explodes, dealing massive damage, but dropping health globes, and that just happened right there. So there you go. And when this happens, I can like toss up my shield, which I just did my number 2. I can toss up my shield and just pick up those health globes and not have much of a problem. All right, now I'm going to use a teleport ability. This is my Z. And it's a little hacks for completing this particular boss. It's actually a really cool skill. I can use it to teleport to a target location, or for like in PvP situations, I can put it on the ground and an ally can activate it to teleport themselves to my position. So we can set up some like sort of positional some positional stuff where, you know, a melee character goes out, starts attacking the enemy, and when things get hairy, they can teleport back to me, just as an example, as it were. All right, so we're gonna make our way around the corner. We're actually getting right close to the end of this little mini dungeon. So whenever I see an AoE group, a lot of times I'll do this, clump them all up, and then just use my right attack, which will do massive damage to the group. We got some stronger enemies in there, so we'll just finish working through them. Again though, regardless, I am burning through these guys pretty quickly because I am on the higher end of the level range for this particular mission. But what will essentially happen, I believe, is that as you continue to level up, over time there'll be higher variants of these different missions, but once more, because of the closed beta being what it is, there's basically a cap to how far we can progress. All right. Get a couple of guys down here. These will be a little bit more difficult. I'm gonna try to target down. Oh, and you know what? I have not been doing, I haven't been doing the optional stuff here at all. I want to make sure I at least get the finishing strikes. So if you see on the right-hand side, there's the Landberg Catacombs. Whenever you're on like a new run of a prior mission, so you're on second and third runs or whatever, you'll get these little bonus objectives which will increase the reward that you get if you complete them. So here for the Landberg Catacombs, I've got the objective to perform 10 finishing strikes as well as to eliminate the enchanter first. Now I'm not going to be able to eliminate the enchanter first, simply because I don't think I have enough groups to be able to do that. We just got one there. I don't know if there's, I don't think going forward though, there will be enough groups with enchanters for me to be able to finish that. But if there is, fantastic. The other thing that I have, though, is to get enough finishing strikes, which I can do that for sure. So as I've talked about in prior videos, each of the classes will have a finisher move. And my particular finisher move gives me a buff to one of my next few attacks. See, right there above my health bar, I've got 10 seconds on a buff. So if I can get down here, I can lob 2 of these attacks and get a buff on both of them. There we go. Nice. That's pretty. So it's a huge damage buff, as you saw, because I completely annihilated that dude. And I'm gonna try to make sure we get these finishers. So I'm just gonna get him low enough. I'm not like trying to kill him as fast as possible. There we go. Just get him low enough to do a finisher. And I need 4 more of those. So we're just gonna try to see if we can get this. Just gonna poke and prod here with my, in fact, let's do my hold down one. Oh no, shoot, that was close. And now I'm gonna wait and not do any, there we go. Because there's a cooldown on your finisher move. You can't just like spam it non-stop basically. And we're coming up to the boss. I think I can do this. Is there an enchanter in this group? Yes, there is, that one right there. And then I also need 3 more finishing strikes. So I'm gonna make sure I get finisher strikes on all of these guys. Well, or just 3 of them at least. And we're gonna kill the enchanter first, there it is. And let's now go for the finisher strikes. So I am not going to try to maximize killing these guys as fast as possible because I'm gonna have to wait for the cooldown on my finisher moves. So we're gonna be popping some shields and picking up health globes. So there's my 50% less damage shield. And let me do my C, which is my stun knockback. Haven't been using it much here because it hasn't been super necessary. But let me tell you guys, that is, as you would probably imagine, just super useful. Use it all the time in PvP as well as in challenging PvE content, like group PvE content. The dungeon is oh my, I one-shotted that guy. Well, I better make sure I don't one-shot this guy. Okay, let me do couple of things. So yeah, the C, it's a knockback stun. It is so good. It is so insanely good. It's got a relatively short cooldown as well. Absolutely love it for PvP. And as I mentioned a moment ago, for any tough PvE content. Like for example, I am the support class that this game has to offer at the moment. There's no healing classes in this game. The most that we have is what you've seen here from me. So the way I support a group is I've got those 2 shields, my 2 and my 4, and then I've got this, which I can use to group up enemies and pull them away from people, and then I've got my C, which is my knockback. There's also my left basic attack. When I target allies with it, it does buff their damage, but that's it. Couple of shields, and then some crowd control and damage buff. That is where support comes into play in this game. Okay, so here's the final boss of this mission. And it's funny because these are structured like, I mean, you've been watching me go through this. You might think, oh, is this like a dungeon? I mean, it is, but it isn't. This is just basically how this game is structured. These missions that take, you know, between 10 and 20 minutes that you go through with various bosses. I was very negative to it at the beginning, like with my first impressions. But I've sort of come to the conclusion that it's just a different style of game. You know, they're not trying to be a massively open MMO. And then, no, I'm not. I am going back on what I said, but it's basically because I've sort of had a change of heart in terms of the fact that I would say that I think it's okay to have these different styles of games. Now, at the moment, there are so few missions that it's incredibly repetitive, but I do feel like that's something that they could potentially alleviate in the future, and I hope that they do, because all around, the gameplay it's fairly fun. I mean, it's an MMO, tab target slash actiony hybrid combination, reminiscent of like Guild Wars or Neverwinter. I'm not gonna, I guess what I want to say is I'm not gonna crap on them for trying to do something different at the very least, you know. I'll say that. I'll say that. Yeah, good for you. You're doing something different. Whether or not people like it and end up wanting to play it, well, that's another matter entirely, but I can't blame them for trying to sort of not go with the conventional, what we've been seeing for the past, you know, 5-10 years from all of the, a lot of the MMOs that have come out. Alright guys, well that's going to do it here for this video. Thank you so much for watching some gameplay of my Lightbinder, as well as taking a look at the Landberg Catacombs. Hope you have a fantastic afternoon. We will be doing at least one more Skyforge video, and that will probably be the taking a look at the 40-minute dungeon. I will likely just edit together some footage and then talk you guys through the dungeon run, as opposed to recording while I play like we're doing here, because that could be a massive headache, to be honest with you. Depending on the group that you get, that could take a very, very long time, because with no healers, as you can imagine, everyone sort of needs to pay attention. All right, have a fantastic afternoon, guys. I'll see you later. Take it easy.